Welcome to the Ultimate Sports Podcast. Today is Tuesday, June 11th, 2019. I know it's been a couple days, so we have to catch up with everything. NBA Finals, the injury to Kevin Durant, the Stanley Cup Final, the French Open, baseball for both majors and men's college, and best bet. All right, we'll start with the NBA Finals. We have not done a podcast since Game 4, which was Friday night, when the Raptors took a 3-1 series lead. They won 105-92. And then Kawhi Leonard led the way with 36 points. Pascal Siakam at 19, Kyle Lowry at 10. Off the bench, Serge Ibaka had 20. Golden State, Steph Curry had 27. Clay had 28. Draymond had 10. Off the bench, Kevin Looney in his return had 10. Raptors go up 3-1. Last night, Warriors over the Raptors 106-105 as Golden State gets within a game and forces a Game 6 for Thursday night at Oracle Arena. Stephen Curry was the best player on the court, 31 points, 8 boards, and 7 assists. Klay Thompson, 26 points. Draymond had 10 with 10 boards and 8 assists. Kevin Durant saw some time in this game. The doctors cleared him to play. Turned out to be a big mistake as he had 11 points, and it looked like he fully tore his right Achilles. We'll get into that more in a couple of minutes. DeMarcus Cousins had 14 off the bench as Golden State forces a Game 6. And it's funny because Kevin Durant looked like himself early on, hitting a couple shots. And then as he's turning to go play defense, as the Raptors get a steal, is where he fully tears the Achilles. It's not confirmed yet, but I'm assuming that's what it is. But this is just a huge blow. Not just for the NBA, not just for the Warriors, but a lot of teams that were pursuing him as a free agent this summer. He'll probably be out for 10 to 12 months, so we won't see basketball for a year. If I'm Kevin Durant, you either opt into your Golden State contract for one more year and become a free agent in the summer of 2020, or you sign a 2-for-1 deal with whomever you were planning on signing with, like the Knicks or the Clippers or wherever you were planning on going. That's what you do if you don't opt into your Golden State contract. But this really changed the trajectory around the league and teams' plans for the summer. A team like the Knicks, maybe, instead of going all in to try to win this year, now they probably are going to tank for another year and try to get another star. And they are probably going to keep the number 3 pick now and draft R.J. Barrett. Just build around R.J. Barrett, I guess. And then maybe if Durant opts into his Golden State contract, you sign him in 2020 and go for it in the 2020-2021 season. And then you have Brooklyn, who recently made that trade with the Hawks. I talked about this with Jeff Burns on my podcast on Friday when they had him on to talk about the Belmont. And he said it was a smart trade for both sides, and I agree with him. And we were talking about the ramifications from the Brooklyn side and how they cleared up a max spot, and they could have 2 max spots if they decide to let D'Angelo Russell walk. And now, does this change their plans? Did they decide to keep D'Angelo Russell and not sign Kyrie Irving like they were thought out to be a couple days ago? Like, that changes Kyrie Irving's free agency as well. Anthony Davis trade. I thought that the Knicks were the favorites to land Anthony Davis before this injury. But now with this injury, I don't think the Knicks will do that trade. And now I think the favorites are the Lakers, because I just don't see the Knicks making this trade if they know that Kevin Durant is going to opt in for a year. And obviously he's not playing next year. So I just don't think that they're going to do it. And I think they'll save their assets for the next unhappy star, whether that's Giannis Antetokounmpo in Milwaukee or Victor Oladipo in Indiana. Those are the 2 names that pop up immediately, because I've noticed a trend around the league the last couple years, and how a superstar becoming available via trade and their draft year. Anthony Davis is going to get traded this year. He was drafted in 2012. Last year, Kawhi Leonard got traded. He was drafted in 2011. In 2017, Paul George got traded. He was drafted in 2010. And someone that was drafted in 2013, I think will be traded next year, whether that's Giannis Antetokounmpo or Victor Oladipo. Those are two names that come to my mind. If those teams disappoint next year, let's say Milwaukee doesn't re-sign Chris Middleton or Brook Lopez, and they really take a step back, I could see Giannis becoming unhappy. And on the flip side, with the Pacers, I know Oladipo's coming off his torn Achilles injury of his own, and we'll see how he comes back. And that's a big thing now because Durant has the same injury, the torn Achilles. And if Oladipo comes back and is serviceable, and say Indiana kind of punts their summer, maybe he's the next unhappy star. And then somebody else that was drafted in 2012 that I think is going to be traded this year, or maybe not because of his Durant injury, because who knows, Bradley Beal. That's somebody else that was going to be traded this summer, I thought, at least, to probably the Lakers, because I thought that the Knicks were going to get Anthony Davis, and now I think that the Lakers are going to overpay for Anthony Davis, and the Knicks won't package a lot because they know that Kevin Durant's not playing next year. So why take a chance and go for it when you know that Kevin Durant isn't even going to play next year? So the league literally just changed last night, and not for good reason. I really hope Kevin Durant gets well soon. He's a great basketball player. Listen, I was against the decision for him to play because of the possibility of this. But to Kevin Durant's credit, he wanted to play, and it showed what a great teammate he really is. And it really shut up some of those haters that think that he's a selfish player. He is not a selfish player. He's the best basketball player in the world when he's healthy. And this injury changed the NBA forever. Or not forever, but like within the next couple of years, really. It could end up being forever if Kevin Durant's not the same. But I just hope that Kevin Durant comes back better than ever and it doesn't turn out to be a Kobe Bryant situation where he just wasn't the same. But the difference is that Kobe was past his prime already when he tore his Achilles. Meanwhile, Kevin Durant was in his prime and the best player in basketball. So we'll see. And another bad injury, I remember somebody coming back from, was Paul George. That was an ugly injury he suffered, and then he came back and was great again, and is still great. It took him a while, but he found it again, so you never know. That's an example of it working out. And then Dominique Wilkins came back from a torn Achilles a long time ago and played great after it too. So there's instances where somebody comes back and is either the same guy or better, well, better in George's case than he was before the injury. So it's going to be an interesting recovery for Durant, and prayers to him, prayers to the Warriors, and we'll talk more about the NBA Finals and more about Kevin Durant's injury throughout the next few weeks on the podcast, and obviously we'll pick Game 6 on Thursday's podcast. Now we'll move on to the Stanley Cup Final. On Sunday night, the Bruins defeated the Blues 5-1 to force a decisive Game 7. This is going to be the first Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Final since 2011, where the Bruins beat the Canucks 4-0 in Vancouver's building. In Game 7, that was the first Stanley Cup championship for this Bruins core. And now Wednesday night, they have a chance to make it the second Stanley Cup championship for this core of players. First period, Brad Marchand's ninth of the postseason on a power play, 1-0 Bruins. Third period is where a lot of goals were scored. Brendan Carlos, second of the postseason, 2-0. To make it a 3-0 lead for the Bruins. Carson Coleman, his first of the postseason, 3-0 Bruins. Ryan O'Reilly's seventh of the postseason made it 3-1. David Pasternak's ninth of the postseason made it 4-1, and Zdeno Chara's second of the postseason, playing with the broken jaw, made it 5-1. Number 1 star of the game with 28 saves on 29 shots, Tuukka Rask. Number 2 star of the game with an assist, Jake DeBrusk. Number 3 star of the game with an assist, David Krejci. Tomorrow night's Game 7, and we'll pick that on tomorrow night's podcast. Now move on to baseball. We're just going to go through some of the scores from yesterday, and then look ahead to today. Rays over the Athletics 6-2. Tampa Bay is 41-24. Oakland's 33-34. Charlie Morton the win. And the losing pitcher for the Athletics was Tanner Anderson. The Rays are in first place in the East, I believe, by a game now. Maybe a half game. Charlie Morton, 7 innings, 2 hits, no runs, 2 walks, 7 strikeouts, ERA 2.1. That was one of the better free agent signings of the winter. Anderson, 5 2/3 innings, 3 hits, 2 runs, 2 walks, 5 strikeouts, ERA 3.18. The Diamondbacks defeat the Phillies 13-8. 13 home runs in this game combined by these two teams. Arizona's 35-32. Phillies 37-29. Zach Godley the win, he's 3-4. Jared Eichhoff the loss, 3-4. Taylor Clark started for Arizona, 3 1/3 innings, 6 hits, 4 runs, 2 walks, 4 strikeouts, ERA 5.26. Starting for Philly was Jared Eichhoff, 3 innings, 5 hits, 7 runs, 2 walks, 2 strikeouts, ERA 5.02. Rangers over the Red Sox, 4-3 in 11 innings. I think the Texas Rangers are officially the biggest surprise in baseball. 35-30. I believe they're tied for the second wild card spot in the American League, which is a mega surprise because this team was thought out to be offense, but no pitching. Their pitching's actually been decent this year, so maybe they change some plans here and go for it. But I wouldn't do that if I'm the Rangers because you were not supposed to be good this year. You're supposed to be rebuilding and stick to your plan. But I can see a big market team like the Rangers maybe trying to rush it a little bit with that core that they have with Joey Gallo, who's hurt right now, and Nomar Mazara, Ruben Odor, and whatnot. And then the Red Sox, we've all dropped to 34-33. Jesse Chavez gets the win. Ryan Brazier the loss. Getting his second save of the year for the Texas Rangers, Chris Martin. Mike Minor, 8 innings, 4 hits, 2 runs, 2 walks, 6 strikeouts, ERA 2.52. Chris Sale, 7 innings, 3 hits, no runs, a walk, 10 strikeouts, ERA 3.52. Chris Sale's looking like the Chris Sale of old. He's just not getting much run support. Cardinals over the Marlins 4-1. The Cardinals are 32-32. The Marlins are 23-41. Michael Wacha the win. Samuel Alcantara the loss. Jordan Hicks the save. Wacha 6 innings, 5 hits, no runs, 2 walks, 4 strikeouts, ERA 5.63. Samuel Alcantara 5 innings, 4 hits, no runs, 4 walks, 6 strikeouts, ERA 3.67. Braves over the Pirates 13-7. The Braves are 37-29. Pittsburgh is 30-35. Sean Newcomb the win. The losing pitcher for the Pirates dropping the 0-2, Alex McRae, and getting his second save of the year, Jacob Webb. Starting for Atlanta was Kevin Gausman, 2 1/3 innings, 5 hits, 2 runs, a walk, 4 strikeouts, ERA 6.21. He's been a disappointment this year. Joe Musgrove was, I guess, their opener. 2/3 of an inning, a hit, no runs, no walks, and a strikeout ERA 4.4. Oh no, my bad, he got injured in the game. So that's not cool. Nationals over the White Sox 12-1. The Nationals are playing better baseball. They're 31-35. The White Sox are 31-34. Anibal Sanchez, the win, he's 2-6. The losing pitcher for the White Sox, Adrisamer Despaigne, who's 0-1. Anibal Sanchez, 6 innings, 4 hits, and a run, a walk, and a strikeout, ERA 3.92. Despaigne, 6 innings, 7 hits, 3 runs, 2 walks, 2 strikeouts, ERA 4.5. Rockies over the Cubs 6-5. Colorado's turned it around. They're 34-31. Chicago's 37-28. Sam Oberg the win, 4-0. Steve Chiswick the loss, 1-3. Wade Davis got his 8th save of the season. Herman Marquez, 6 innings, 5 hits, 4 runs, 2 walks, 7 strikeouts, ERA 4.19. Yu Darvish, 6 innings, 6 hits, 4 runs, no walks, 3 strikeouts, ERA 4.98. Angels over the Dodgers 5-3. Angels win it pretty much in the 8th inning. with Mike Trout's game-tying home run, and then a couple errors and fielding mistakes by the Dodgers take advantage for the Angels. So, big home run by Trout, and a couple lucky breaks for the Angels as they improve to 32-35. Dodgers drop to 45-22. Ty Buttery to win. He's 4-2. Joe Kelly to loss 1-3. Hansel Robles gets his 8th save of the year. Hajian Ryu, 6 innings, 7 hits, an earned run. No walks, 6 strikeouts, ERA 1.36. He's certainly the favorite for the Cy Young right now in the National League. Griffin Canning, 6 innings, 5 hits, 3 runs, no walks, 5 strikeouts, ERA 3.65. That's a dark horse for the American League Rookie of the Year. Mets Yankees postponed till today as they have a doubleheader. 1 o'clock, game 1 between the Yankees and the Mets. Zach Wheeler and Masahiro Tanaka. The second game is at 7 o'clock on ESPN. That will be Jason Vargas and James Paxton. I'm going to take the Yankees here. They're the better team. James Paxton's better than Jason Vargas. Vargas is rejuvenated this year, but a lot of that's against bad competition and a bigger ballpark in Citi Field. And I think that the Yankees will tattoo him in Yankee Stadium. He'll give up some cheap homers. James Paxton's been brilliant at home this year, so give me the Yankees here, as I think they'll actually sweep this doubleheader because their pitching matchups are in their favor. Zach Wheeler hasn't had a good year, and Jacob deGrom's not pitching in either of these two games. If deGrom was pitching in either of these two games, I think it'd be a split, but I think the Yankees get the sweep here. Reds Indians, you have Luis Castillo and Trevor Bauer. Diamondbacks Phillies, John DePlanter and Jake Arrieta. Blue Jays Orioles, Trent Thornton and Jalen Means. Athletics Rays, Mike Fiers and Ryan Stanek. Stanek's the opener tonight. Rangers Red Sox, Ariel Gerardo and Dorizon Hernandez. Cardinals Marlins, Dakota Hudson, and starting for Miami is Eliezer Hernandez. You got at 7:20 Pirates Braves. Starting for Pittsburgh is Chris Archer, Mike Foltynewicz for Atlanta. Brewers Astros at 8 o'clock. That's a nice series. Freddie Peralta and Brad Peacock. The intrigue there is Josh Hader was an Astro. He was drafted by the Astros, and he was sent to Milwaukee in the Carlos Gomez trade, so that brings a little bit of intrigue there. The Nationals and the White Sox. Patrick Corbin and Manny Banuelos. Mariners Twins. You have Mike Leake and Martin Perez. Tigers Royals at 8:15, so two bad teams here. Stephen Turnbull and Jacob Junis. Cubs Rockies at 8:40. Jose Quintana and Peter Lambert. Lambert pitched very well in his big league debut against the Cubs. 9:45 Padres Giants. Chris Paddock and Tyler Beede. And last but not least, Dodgers Angels. The Battle of LA, Kenta Maeda and Felix Pena. Now we have to talk about something that happened over the weekend that's pretty unfortunate, but luckily he's going to be okay, and that's former Red Sox slugger David Ortiz, who was shot by a gunman at a bar in Dominican Republic, and he was in stable condition. They had to remove part of his gallbladder and part of his intestine, and it's just an unfortunate situation. The Red Sox sent their team doctors down to see him, and then they flew him back to Boston, and he's in good hands by the Red Sox doctors. I think that was very clever and kind of that organization, even though he doesn't play anymore, to take care of him, because they know he's a Red Sox legend and icon, and he is somebody that's a good person and somebody that I really feel bad for, and I think that he'll be okay eventually. But thoughts and prayers out to Big Papi and his family, and obviously the Red Sox as well. And now I'll move on to the French Open from the weekend, where there were some interesting results. We'll go from Friday on in the French Open. We'll start with the men's side. Semifinals, Rafael Nadal defeated Roger Federer in 3 sets. Dominic Thiem upset Novak Djokovic in 5 sets. And then the final, Rafael Nadal defeated Dominic Thiem in 4 sets. So Rafael Nadal wins the men's side of the French Open. Meanwhile, on the women's side, Marketa Vondrousova defeated Joanna Konta in 2 sets. Ashley Barty defeated Amanda Anisimova in 3 sets. And in the women's final, Ashley Barty defeated Marketa Vondrousova in 2 sets. So Ashley Barty and Rafael Nadal are your French Open champions. I thought it was going to be Djokovic and Serena, but I was wrong. And Serena lost early, and Novak Djokovic lost in the semifinals. So this was a good tournament. A lot of surprises, obviously, with Anisimov and with Marketa Vondrousova. Obviously, Dominic Thiem making the final, I guess, counts as a bit of a surprise, because I think a lot of people thought that Djokovic would be there. A lot of disappointments, too, such as Serena on the women's side. But you're always in for some of these surprises in the French Open and all the other great tournaments we have. And something that got underway the other day was the Women's World Cup. Just going to go over some of the results from that over the past few days. France defeated South Korea 4-0. Then Saturday, Germany over China 1-0. Spain over South Africa 3-1. Norway over Nigeria 3-0. Sunday, Italy over Australia 2-1. Brazil over Jamaica 3-0. England over Scotland 2-1. Yesterday, Argentina and Japan tied at 0. And then Canada defeated Cameroon 1-0. And now today, the Netherlands defeated New Zealand 1-0. Chile and Sweden are playing right now. That's 0-0. And at 3 o'clock, you have the United States against Thailand. I think the United States not only wins this game, but I think they're going to repeat as World Cup champions. I forgot to give out a pick on Friday's podcast, so there it is. I think this is the U.S.'s tournament to lose. They're the best team in the world in terms of women's soccer and in this tournament. So I really like them to win it all. And I'm going to pick the game between Nigeria and South Korea right now, as well as Germany, Spain, and France, Norway. Those are the 3 games for tomorrow. So I'm going to take South Korea. I'm going to take Germany over Spain. And in the France-Norway game, I like France, although I do think it will be close. So my picks for tomorrow, South Korea, Germany, and Norway. And obviously I think the United States wins today, and I think they'll win the whole thing. And in Chile and Sweden, I'm going to say that the Swedish come away victorious here, but I don't feel super about that pick. Now I'm going to move on to men's baseball, go over the scores from the weekend, and look ahead a little bit to the College World Series. So in the Super Regionals, Game 1, Louisville, Super Regional, Louisville over East Carolina 14-1. Game 1 in Lubbock, Texas Tech over Oklahoma State 6-8. LA Regional Game 1, Michigan over UCLA 3-2. Nashville Game 1, Duke over Vanderbilt 18-5. Then Saturday, Game 2, Louisville over East Carolina 2-0. Chapel Hill Regional, Auburn over North Carolina 11-7. Fayette Regional Game 1, Arkansas over Ole Miss 11-2. Baton Rouge Regional Game 1, Florida State over LSU 6-4. Lubbock, Game 2, Oklahoma State over Texas Tech, 6-5. Starkville, Game 1, Mississippi State over Stanford, 6-2. Nashville, Game 2, Vanderbilt over Duke, 3-0. LA, Game 2, UCLA over Michigan, 5-4 in 12 innings. Sunday, Chapel Hill Regional, Game 2, North Carolina over Auburn, 2-0. Fayetteville, Game 2, Ole Miss over Arkansas, 13-5. Nashville, Game 3, Vanderbilt over Duke, 13-2, so Vanderbilt moves on. Lubbock, Game 3, Texas Tech over Oklahoma State, 8-6, and then Texas Tech moves on. Baton Rouge Regional, Florida State over LSU, 5-4 in 12, so Florida State moves on. Starkville, Mississippi State over Stanford, 8-1, so they move on. I'm talking about Mississippi State. And then the LA Regional, Michigan over UCLA, 4-2, and Michigan upsets UCLA and moves on. And then 2 games. Yesterday, Auburn over North Carolina, 14-7, so Auburn wins that region. And then Fayetteville, Game 3, Arkansas over Ole Miss, 14-1, so Arkansas moves on. And Saturday, the College World Series gets underway. You have Michigan and Texas Tech, and then Florida State and Arkansas. And on Sunday, you have 2 more games, Louisville and Vanderbilt, and then Auburn and Mississippi State. I'll pick those games on Friday's podcast. So now we'll do a little bit on the Belmont, because that happened over the weekend. So, yet again, we have another unexpected winner. This time, it was Sir Winston who was your surprise winner here to close out the Triple Crown Series. And it was a nice win for somebody that was a long shot to win the race. And Tacitus came in second place, who was the favorite to win the race. And getting the show position was Joevia, who was the 1 horse. So it was 10-7-1 for the trifecta. Tax came in 4th. He was the 4 horse. 5th place was Master Fencer. He was the 3 horse. 6th was the 6 horse spinoff. 7th was Everfast. That was the 2 horse. 8th was Intemperate Heart, who was the 8 horse. 9th was the 9 horse War of Will, who was my pick to win this. And coming in last was Bourbon War, who was the 5 horse. So a disappointing race for Bourbon War. So that concludes the Triple Crown Series, and then we have the Haskell coming up. I believe it's on July 20th. It's a Saturday this year, so they moved the Haskell to a Saturday. So I think that's a little weird, but we'll see how that goes. And last but not least, my best bet of the day, brought to you by DraftKings. So, some options today for best bet. With baseball, you have a lot of games, and you also have the Women's World Cup. I'm throwing the United States in there because, like I said, they're the best team. I expect them to dominate, and they're an astounding minus 10,000, so that's incredible. And then we'll do some baseball. We'll go with the Yankees in the second game of that doubleheader against the Mets. I just feel good about James Paxton. We'll go with the Cardinals on the road. We'll go with I was going to pick the Red Sox, but I really don't feel great about them. Especially because the Rangers aren't terrible this year. I'm going to go with the Braves, but that's kind of a gut pick more than a smart pick. I just have a feeling that the Braves are going to blow out the Pirates tonight. I'm going to take the Twins. because I think they've earned the respect. I love the Nationals on the road. And we'll take the Padres on the road, even though Paddock has struggled of late. We're going to avoid the Dodgers because of that bullpen. We're going to wager a payout of $16.97. That's it for the podcast today. I'll be back tomorrow recapping baseball, World Cup, and we'll do some activities. I don't know what yet. I'm finally going to start the baseball draft and the prospects and who can sneak into respective top 30s and whatnot. We'll get going with that maybe tonight, if not tomorrow night. Hope you guys have a great day, everybody.